everybody, so this is all about beauty products I no longer buy. I've had a couple of people request this and request similar things. Really, I could say pretty much everything, because for most of you, you probably know that I have been on a no-buy for a couple of years. I've really only been purchasing absolute necessities like repurchases. I have been lucky to receive some stuff as PR and as gifts and other things, but I haven't been purchasing things myself. So I thought that I would go into a little bit more detail about a couple of things that even if I had more disposable income, they aren't things that I would want to purchase. So there are going to be some general categories and some specific types. Some are exceptions and some are rules. So I just wanted to explain that a little bit. And I guess the first thing I will say is that I'm not tempted by colorful eyeshadow palettes anymore. I have what I feel like works well for me, which is my Viseart Editorial Brights palette, which is still kicking, and my Color Rain Vivid Pigments, which are the really bright, colorful shadows that I choose to use most often. But that said, if a brand with a favorite formula came out with some kind of a bright / rainbow palette, I would definitely be tempted by that. So let's say Natasha Denona comes out with her rainbow palette, which just may be. Let me know if you would like another trademark video, because I did find another trademark that definitely hints at the colorful eyeshadow palette that she promised. But anyway, I would be tempted because formula can trump repetition. And I feel like that's true for a number of different cases where it's like, well, you know, I wouldn't want this from a particular brand or particular formula, but if it was released in a formula that I really loved, then I would be more tempted by it. There's a couple of examples that I can think of like that, and I just wanted to give that as the first example. The next category I kind of lumped all together because it's really like 3 subcategories. It's complete collections, PR collections, and anything that is a set with multiple items. Complete collections can be really tempting, especially if you love a formula. I'm going to use lipstick and lip gloss as an example. So when I find a formula for a lipstick or a lip gloss, some sort of lip product that I really like, it's really tempting to want all of them. Not because I know realistically every color is going to work for me, but because I like the way that that product performs. Off the top of my head, stuff like ColourPop lip products, which are my favorite lip products, I would love to have every one. You know, it would be fun to be able to display it. I see a lot of people who have like behind them their beautiful displays of complete collections of makeup. But if you are just a regular makeup user, complete collections don't really make sense. Like, a lot of people that I'm seeing who have those things got them for free. So it's a completely different comparison. It's fun to do videos on stuff like that. Like, I would love to be able to do like lip swatch videos using complete collections. Like, I always loved watching those, but I know for me personally, it would be very time consuming and there wouldn't be enough of a payoff for me to do it. Because if it cost me a few $100s to buy all of those things for the sake of creating content, I know that I would only get like a 1/10 of that back, if that, for the work in return of the video, because it does take so much time, and I know that I don't have the sort of audience like other people do who do those sort of videos, so it doesn't really make it practical for me to spend that kind of money on it. I do find PR sets to be a little gimmicky and something that definitely appeals to sort of like wannabe influencers and people who want to feel like they're part of the in crowd. Like, you are paying for the luxury to receive the extra packaging and perhaps other little things together, or just like a complete brand's collection all in one pretty little package like people receive for free. And I feel like it's a little manipulative because it is preying on people's insecurities, and also people who just, you know, don't feel like they fit in and feel like something like that would help them feel like they're part of the group, which is just not true at all. I've never purchased a complete PR collection myself, but I have been tempted by them, so I thought that I would just talk about them kind of briefly, because it really is this illusion. And I felt like so many times if I purchased like the PR kits from various brands that they were selling, that it would make me feel cooler. Like it would, and I don't know if other people kind of pass it off like they actually received it or not, which is something that could be a little bit dangerous, but I'm sure the brand doesn't really care because they are getting their stuff publicized anyway. It doesn't matter if it's someone with a large following or a small following, they're still getting their products promoted. And if you were to purchase something like that, you're probably more likely to show it off as well. And I've discovered over the years that multi-product sort of value sets aren't really worth it for me unless I really want every single thing. I definitely look at the cost versus the value versus the product and the product sizes. So to give an example, let's say it's a skincare set and I really need a new cleanser, and the cleanser that I want is in this set. The cleanser, the full size of the cleanser retails for $40 and the set is $60. So for that extra $20, I get these 2 bonus products, but it's not really bonus products. Unless I'm actually going to use those other 2 things, it could just be a waste of money. And then sometimes you might see that like, okay, the cleanser I want full size is $40 and it's only a travel size that's in this collection, because maybe the full size item was like a face mask or something. So unless I was committed to all of those products, I don't go for the value set anymore. I really kind of know the products I look for, and I have been looking for cheaper alternatives as well, and I'm not gonna save money by spending more money to get more stuff that I'm not gonna use, because that's happened to me so many times over the years, especially around the holidays when these collections would come out and I'd be like, well, I like this product anyway, so I'll buy this whole set so that I can get the rest of the stuff, and so many times the rest of the stuff sits. So for me, I've learned these generally don't tend to be worth it for me. Now, going back a little bit to sort of complete collections and PR sets and stuff I touched on briefly, this is something that's probably specific to me and perhaps other smaller content creators, but purchasing something simply to create content with is not worth it. Most reviews of new products are done in advance of the product launching because people received it for free from PR. So they do the reviews and people who haven't purchased this stuff and are considering purchasing it watch these new reviews. Now, there does tend to be a trickling of reviews once the product launches. Sometimes there are larger creators who aren't included on PR lists and their audience really wanted them to try something, just examples like that. For me, I don't have the kind of following that justifies or warrants those sort of extra purchases. It's definitely a way that I could justify it to myself, and I have done this in the past where I've been like, oh, well, I'll do a review about that, so it's totally worth it. But the only reason why I wanted the product in the first place was because I wanted to create content with it. And there's just such little return on investment for that for me that I've learned over the years that I would spend a lot of money getting special products in and either get it way too late that it's just totally worthless, or still going ahead and doing reviews and having the video just completely flop. Like, that is a little heartbreaking sometimes, and at least it's lessons learned now, where even if I think about it, I'm like, oh yes, it would be so great to like spend a little bit of money so I can create sort of content with this thing. But unless it's going to be something that I'm going to use in my day-to-day life, it's 100% not worth it. See, I really used to break things down into more of products I used on social media supplemented with stuff that I used in my day-to-day life. It's the reverse now, where my only priority is the makeup I use day to day, and then I supplement other things for filming. Like, there's certain products that I need for filming that I wouldn't need for day-to-day life, just because I need like darker contour shades for on camera. I like to wear false eyelashes, so I need lashes or want lashes and lash glue and those kind of things. So I look at those little extra pieces as opposed to building my makeup collection around like my YouTube channel, which is something that I used to do, and definitely a reason why I overspent, because it was something that I was trying to keep up with, and I was trying to keep up appearances by buying all these new launches and having so many different things and using so many different things, which really just wasn't practical for me. And I know sometimes it can be different if you're comparing people. I don't like comparing people. It's just something that seems to happen a lot, where I am a hobby YouTuber. This isn't my job. This isn't anywhere close to ever becoming my job. It's something that I do for fun because I like to talk about makeup, and I like to talk about stuff that I have, and I like to put makeup on, and I like to explore different concepts related to beauty and makeup and history and etc. So it doesn't make sense for me to spend a whole bunch of money on something that I am not going to get any return on. So I feel like sometimes in hobbies and certain things that you do, you can't invest money into it and get money back, and that doesn't really happen for me in this case. So I really just have to be cautious of that, because it can be very tempting and very easy to want to do that. But I have learned over the years, it's just something that I no longer buy. And this is true of indie brands as well. As fun as some of the products look, some of them I probably wouldn't use in my day-to-day life, and I know it would take so long to get the product to me. It would cost so much more because so many of these are based outside of Canada, so importing them in can cost a lot of money. So it's just stuff that I stopped purchasing as I was focusing more on makeup for me and how I wear makeup every day, as opposed to makeup for online. So those were a little bit more general, but specifically ColourPop Super Shock Shadows. I wanted to mention these particularly because I used to love collecting them. I probably had 50 or so of these. They are beautiful, they swatch beautifully. Some of them don't apply very well on the eyes, at least that was my experience. And I found that they dried out so incredibly quickly. Like, they just did not last at all. Like, they would go off incredibly fast because they are more of that cream kind of product. They are very, very thin little layers of product in that pan. So it doesn't take very long for it to dry out, and it's really hard to kind of breathe life back into it. And not that you necessarily would want to spend too much time on it, because they really are like $5. So it's tempting to spend so much money on them, to collect them, because they are pretty, but they don't last at all. So even if I was purchasing ColourPop stuff in the future, I would not buy anything Super Shock. I would skip right over it, because I just know it's not going to last, and I'm not going to get the use out of it. I don't buy concealer anymore, which may be surprising to people, but I have quite a stash of concealer, so I've been dipping into my concealer stash when I need to conceal little spots on my face. But I use color corrector, which has replaced traditional concealer for me. So I will use a green color corrector on red spots, and I use a pink color corrector underneath my eyes, and my foundation on top, or sometimes even a mix of concealer or whatever sort of combination I'm using as my base, and that's it. I don't use a lot of traditional concealers. I'm fortunate, I guess, in that way, but I've never really relied on it. Like, I've seen other people kind of like rely on it because I rely on other products. So for me, concealer has been an easy thing not to buy anymore. Face powder is another one, a big category. I just did a face powder declutter not that long ago. Pressed powder, loose powder, translucent, tinted. I don't want any more of it. I rarely set my face. I rarely ever did, to be honest, but I was caught in that loop of feeling like I had to do what I saw other people doing, especially when there was that like 2016, 2017 peak where like everybody was doing like a lot of concealer and a lot of powder and a lot of baking, which was horrible for my skin. It just did not look flattering at all. I just skip it entirely. Like, there's very rare occasions that I actually dig out face powder. So I definitely think it's something that's skin specific and something that's not suitable for my skin type, which has gotten drier as I've gotten older. And the last product, I sort of jotted these down as I was thinking about them as they came to mind. The last thing is bronzer. I have a couple of bronzers that work pretty well for me. Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, the Guerlain Terracotta Bronzer. I have a couple of other ones. I think I still have a Benefit Hoola. I'm not gonna be running out of it anytime soon. Like, I just hit a tiny bit of pan on my butter bronzer, but bronzer is not something I've ever really been tempted by, but I definitely found myself accumulating more in the past because, again, keeping up or trying to keep up with people. But bronzer can only accomplish so much on your face. I don't feel like there's going to be so much that's going to look different with different kinds of bronzer. I mean, it's something that's supposed to bring warmth to your face. When you find some ones that work well for you, you find a bronzer that works well for you. I feel like it's kind of similar to a foundation in a way. Like, those base products, like when you find those good ones that work for you, that's what you need. It's not going to look different like lipstick, like eyeshadow, like blush, you know, those different sort of more colorful products. So I feel like I have more than enough with what I already have, and more would feel wasteful to me because there's no way I would ever go through that much powder. I don't even wear bronzer very much anymore. It just hasn't even been my personal makeup style. So that is everything I can think of right now. I'm sure there will be more things that come to me. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing like the flip side of this, of like products that I'm more inclined to repurchase, or things that I have repurchased, or things that I look for, especially during the last couple of years of my no-buy. Let me know if you'd be interested in something like that. And let me know what kind of products you no longer buy. I'd be really curious to know if there's any specific types of product, or even just general product categories that you're not tempted by for whatever reason. I'd be really curious. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. It would mean so much to me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I hope we get a chance to chat soon. Bye for now.